Welcome to a very special episode of Sold Out. Michael and I did not travel through time this week to see one of the biggest movies on the big screen. In fact, I guess we traveled about 1 week back in time to when James Gunn's brand new launch of the DC universe, which we'll discuss more, launches with Superman. Really excited to bring this episode to you. There is a bit of a backstory behind it, but before I go into it, let me introduce the backstory. My co-host, Michael Smith.
Hi, I am Michael Smith. Hopefully by now you know that I'm a former film student, a movie critic with over 15 years of experience, used to write movie reviews, and now the co-host of Sold Out.
And you are the reason that we are recording remotely today, aren't you, Michael Smith?
I am, in fact, the reason that we had to leave the time machine in the barn. Instead, I just got into, a Kia and drove to the multiplex down the road because in what I'm going to call a popcorn-related incident. I don't actually know if it was popcorn, but for the purposes of the show, it's more fun if it's popcorn. I cracked my tooth, and it's barely hanging on there, and so I need to have a little dental procedure done on our regular recording day this week.
And that is why you are in the discomfort of your own home, and I get the whole studio to myself. And just to make things comfortable.
I know, you look so comfy.
Oh, I'm so comfortable. And to make things even feel familiar for me, I'm going to show off what I've done. I've put you on the iPad across the desk. I've given you your microphone. I couldn't feel more at home right now.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, speaking of dental-related surgeries connected to movies, my wife had a dental-related surgery connected to an Ari Aster film. In fact, I thought about sending him the bill.
That's really fitting. I mean, that fits even better than
Yeah. It wasn't popcorn, though. It was just her grinding her teeth as we watched Hereditary. About $700 later, and she's not really that into Ari Aster anymore.
Yeah, that is $700 seems to be the going rate for cracking your tooth.
But it's appropriate because this is it's still a sold out weekend, and that Superman may find its way onto our list. It's doing pretty incredibly well in the box office right now. It's almost profitable.
Superman is doing great.
After 2 weekends, it's nearly profitable. But there is another great movie in theaters right now that you may want to catch as well, in addition to the big sold out flick, and that is Ari Aster's Eddington.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think of Eddington. I know you like Ari Aster. I like Ari Aster.
I haven't seen Beau is Afraid. I love Midsommar. I would probably put that on. I don't remember if I put that on my top 10 list, but you say Midsommar?
Summer. I don't know.
I don't know. What's the right way of saying it? Am I saying it the pretentious way?
You're probably saying it correctly.
But that doesn't mean it's not pretentious. Well, the good news is there's no wrong way to say Superman. Although there are some pundits on the right that are saying that there is a wrong way to announce what he stands for. But we're not going to talk about that on today's episode. We are going to talk about, what's that?
I looked for that in the movie, and I didn't really see it. I don't know what they're mad about.
What I had heard, now we're on it. What I had heard is that they were mad that he only stood for truth and justice, but not the American way, because he was an immigrant.
But the movie has a significant plot about the sovereignty of borders, so I don't know what they're upset about.
We will be looking at superhero movies, but before we do get to our superhero movie, we thought we would take a look at a complete reboot from somebody who helped build the Marvel Universe and is now in charge of building the DC Universe.
Yeah.
Which, again, I say with in italics.
With a shrug. It's funny because they had DC Extended Universe, and now it's just DC Universe. And, James Gunn, the supposed godfather of this universe, seems to not care very much. About the whole universe thing, which is fine.
Well, I was going to say that actually makes me really hopeful for the movies to come.
Yeah.
And I think will lead into why I really enjoyed Superman this last weekend.
I also really enjoyed Superman this last weekend. I had a lot of fun with it. It took me a minute to get into it, I'll admit. I think the first 30 minutes or so, I was maybe a little unsure if this was going to be my jam, if this was the version of Superman that I wanted to see. But once I sort of settled into like the tone that they were going for, I had a really great time.
I think I was in from the jump. There is something about James Gunn. He has a direct line to what I enjoy about fun popcorn superhero movies, which is almost embarrassing because James Gunn he is like the pop punk of directors. And that's generally not my aesthetic. But I will say, so I really learned to enjoy James Gunn's directorial style, his relationship with music, his relationship with color and humor. And there is just so much of that in this Superman movie. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Michael, I do not want to take away your synopsis before we dive in.
All right. I don't want to give too much away because this is a movie that is currently in theaters. It is a movie that we have both already said we recommend you go see. But I will say that in this first film of James Gunn's sort of softly rebooted DC universe, David Cornsweet replaces Henry Cavill as our Kryptonian hero. And this movie skips the typical rehash of his origin story. We encounter Superman battered, broken, having lost a battle for the first time ever. But those physical wounds are secondary to the more complicated political wounds he has sustained because he's facing some real scrutiny regarding his decision to interfere in an overseas military conflict. He prevented a country called Baravia from invading their neighbor, Jarhanpur, and it opened up questions about the appropriateness of a superhero unilaterally dictating foreign policy. Among the controversy, billionaire supervillain Lex Luthor recognizes an opportunity that he has been waiting for to sideline the Man of Steel and enhance his own power.
I love that this movie starts with a crawl instead of another Superman origin story, which we have seen time and time and time again. It takes a great hint from Star Wars, which is you do not need to rehash all of the boring parts of the story that we need to know, but just give it to us quickly. And it gives us a crawl that breaks down what's happened in the last 3,000 years, and the last 300 years, and the last 30 years, and the last 3 months, and the last 3 years, 3 months, 3 days, and 3 hours.
And that really was kind of the first hint that you're watching a James Gunn movie, I think, was as it like got smaller and smaller and smaller. But it worked really well. I think one of my biggest hesitations with Superman as a superhero is that he is so darn super. It sort of makes it boring sometimes.
Exactly the same way. I feel exactly the same way because there are only a couple of things that can ever threaten Superman because he is such a god among men. I've always found him to be the most boring of the characters dressed in tights.
And so to open up with him, like really just beat to crap. We find out it was like 20-something broken bones. Like he is in rough shape.
I felt so much gratitude in that moment.
It turns it on its head. There's a vulnerability to this character that we haven't seen before that grounds the character in a way that is really helpful because there are other parts of this movie that don't feel grounded at all. And
again, James Gunn directed.
It does. It lets you connect. It is a new take on the hero. It feels fresh without undermining, I think, the things that people care about.
Yeah, I was so happy when the movie opened the way that it did, from that crawl directly into understanding what's happened in the last 3 hours. So, I don't know if it counts as a spoiler if we reveal what happens in the beginning of the movie, which is he loses a fight. I guess he loses his first fight in the 3 years since he has become Superman to the world. We don't understand anything but the context around the fight. We just know that he is a vulnerable being physically. But I think to your point, and what I think the movie does so extraordinarily well and why I enjoyed it so much is for those of us who are maybe Superman doubters, who were like, he's not that interesting, he's boring. This is a regular criticism leveled against him. You take away that invulnerability by showing him get beaten, but then you show that that's not what really matters about Superman, and that's not what makes him interesting. What makes him interesting is his political vulnerability, his personal vulnerability, what makes him human, And I think this is where this film really starts to shine. It almost head fakes you in the beginning. It invites you in and says, look how physically vulnerable he is. But then says, but that's not what makes Superman great. That's not what makes him interesting. That's not why he's lasted for nearly a millennium. I mean, he's been around for almost 100 years, invented by two young immigrant Jewish kids drawing cartoons in school.
Yeah.
All these years ago, and why he still endures. And I will tell you, this is the first time that I finally started to understand why he's endured as long as he has.
I think that the choice to hone in, yes, they made him physically vulnerable in a way that I hadn't seen before, and I really, really appreciated that. But the movie is really about his other part of his humanity, as you said. It's his vulnerability in how to be a hero, how to do what he thinks is right in the face of controversy, scrutiny, people with different morals than maybe he has. And then also, I think it does a really nice job of showing his vulnerability in his interpersonal relationships and how he, despite being super, kind of faces a lot of the same challenges that everyone else faces.
What I love is not just despite being super that he faces the challenges, but because he's not just super in his physical abilities, he's also super kind. He's also super generous. And even with these incredibly strong morals that he approaches every single problem with, he still has difficulty, like, not becoming angry, not becoming frustrated, not becoming alienated, despite how important it is for him to be kind at all times. And this movie, I'm gonna quote myself in the review that I wrote for it. This movie really invites us to ask, is it punk rock to be kind? Like, how rebellious is it in a world where there is so much cynicism and there is so much anger to just be kind, to just try to do the right thing that involves saving somebody, that involves helping somebody, that involves giving something up of yourself so that somebody else can have it better? Is that an act of rebellion?
I think it is. And I think that's why it actually took me a minute to settle into the movie. Because I think we're so used to this darker, more cynical version of a superhero that this movie is unfailingly optimistic. It leans into some of the cheesier elements of the superhero instead of resisting them like so many movies that we have. Like you said, ultimately, it's a movie about kindness. It's a movie about how you interact with the people around you. It's a movie about how you can take your moral compass and apply it practically, and how right or wrong that doesn't always work out.
And it takes these big geopolitical problems that seem so infinitely complex and just breaks them down to their absolute bare bones of, like, this is a big guy hurting a little guy. That's not right. There may be a lot of other things that are going on in there, but I think we can all agree that when we look at it through that lens, that it's not right. Now, what the solution is may not be Superman going in, interfering in that scenario, but we can all agree that what's going on is wrong. Now, a lot of people, it's worth just saying, have mapped this conflict onto Israel and Gaza. And I will say, for my reading of this, I didn't see it. I saw Russia and Ukraine at best.
I saw Russia, Ukraine more than Israel, Gaza, and even that wasn't very, I don't know. It was there, I guess, if you wanted it to be there, but it wasn't a perfect analog.
If you're worried that this is going to be politically triggering in some way or making some type of statement about whether Israel's right or Gaza's right, you have to work pretty hard, I think, to make that work. Particularly, I mean, not to get too technical, Gaza is not a sovereign state in what's happening in Superman. It is a sovereign state. So again, it's more like Ukraine and Russia, if it's like something at all. But I think it really, to me, is about a big guy's hurting a little guy, and Superman sees things so black and white that he gets involved, because that's what he does. He saves cats from trees. He makes sure monsters don't hurt people. He saves little guys from big guys who are bullies. I mean, again, this is coming from two young Jewish kids who were getting beat up and bullied for being immigrants, saying, what if somebody could just come along and just save us? I don't know. It ends up, people have done a lot with it, but I don't see it. I think it is a huge stretch, and I think that people are mapping a lot onto this movie that doesn't go there. And I don't even think that has anything to do with what James Gunn said about it, which he said that's not what he was thinking about when he wrote it. And it's not what I'm thinking about when I saw it.
No, I don't think it's political in those overt ways where there are these like direct references to like modern, or not modern, I guess contemporary political issues or hot button topics. It's political because it asks us to look at sort of our culture and where we're at and whether or not we're going forward in a way that is kind of good for us, right? And I think because the theme ends up being about like universal humanity and kindness, it's not topical. It's universal.
It could have been Iraq, Kuwait. It could have been Georgia. It really, there's so many times in history in which these types
of... It didn't have to be anything.
Well, that's my point, is that it's a universal problem in human history. It's not something specific to what's happening now. Everybody thinks that there is no human history. People forget that Superman has been around for 100 years. People forget that he's evolved immensely over those 100 years. People forget that there have been so many conflicts like the ones that we're currently watching on CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, or hopefully none of those places, because those are the worst places to get your news. But
those are 3 bad examples.
No, but they are 3 very real examples when you look at their numbers of where we're getting it. But these things have always been happening. And so Superman has always addressed these things. That's what he was made for. And now a promotional message from Uplift Media.
Hi, I'm Rosie Page. Welcome to Nailed It Novels, the book club where we bring stories to life, not just through discussion, but with some seriously sparkling, glittery nail art. I'm in not 1, not 2, but 3 book clubs, and that's just not enough. So I'm starting my own, but with a twist. I'm gonna bring my love of reading and my passion for nail art together, and we're gonna draw inspo from the books to the nails. You might be wondering, how did I get here? Well, I'm a lover of all things books, iced tea, and animals. Though apparently, I'm not allowed to have hedgehogs, raccoons, sugar gliders, or ferrets as pets in California. Trust me, I've researched it. I used to say I didn't have a creative bone in my body, but during the pandemic, my amazing nail tech became my mentor. The greatest compliment she ever gave me was when she said, "Rosie, your shape is great, but your nails are surprisingly boring for somebody who's normally so extra." Cindy, challenge accepted. So whether you're a lifelong reader, a lapsed book lover, or just here for the nail inspo, this space is for you. Nailed It Novels isn't about being well-read. It's about the love of the read. And the nails? That's just my way of bringing the stories right to their fingertips. We launch July 24th, and a new episode will drop every other Thursday. So mark your calendars and get ready to talk books and nails with me. Our first read is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Nailed It Novels on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Happy reading, Nailed It Novelers!
We're getting too much into that. Let's talk about the cast. I love this cast.
The cast is great.
I really, really do. I got to tell you, I didn't know Anthony Carrigan was in this movie until maybe 2 days before I saw it. And I absolutely love Anthony Carrigan. For those of you who do not know who he is a fantastic actor. He did the breakout role as NoHo Hank and Barry. If you've not seen that show, the reason to watch it is that it's great, but he honestly is a absolute breakout star. Phenomenally hilarious. I was so excited to see him in something this big. Great, great actor. The casting of David Cornsweet as Superman is just pitch perfect, especially for the tone that the film's going for. Mm-hmm. And then there were other characters in here, though, and not being familiar with the DC universe, that I was introduced to. So I knew Green Lantern, and I knew Nathan Fillion was going to be there. Nathan Fillion is never disappointing. But I'd never heard of Mr.
He's never disappointing.
He is. I mean, he's been the best for just decades. He kind of feels like he's taken over the role of Bruce Campbell now for us.
Yeah.
He just shows up.
I think you're right. I think that
he's silly. He's great.
Him just existing in the movie is a piece of fan service, no matter what he's doing there.
Yep, because we're all fans. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. If you don't know Nicholas Hoult, another great actor, great casting choice. Mm-hmm. We've talked about Mad Max Fury Road on this show before. Mm-hmm. He is a breakout star in there as one of the War Boys.
I don't think I've ever seen Nicholas Hoult not be great in something.
No. And he's absolutely great as Lex Luthor.
Yeah, an underrated performance of his, just a movie not many people have seen, is A Single Man, which was directed by like fashion designer Tom Ford. Starred Colin Firth. Years and years ago, he was quite young in it, like, maybe 20, and very, very good in that. So yeah, Nicholas Hoult, no matter what he does, is good. And I think Lex Luthor is the role in this movie that gives an actor kind of the most to do, and Nicholas Hoult does a great job with it.
Agreed. And then I was introduced to this new character, Mr. Terrific.
Oh, Mr. Terrific.
What do you know anything about Mr. Terrific before? Like,
I literally didn't know Mr. Terrific existed before seeing this new Superman movie. And let's just say that he is appropriately named.
Both in his powers and his ability to just steal scenes. So played by Eddie Gathegi. Never seen him in anything before. This was my introduction to this performer. And he plays this character, Mr. Terrific, who's extraordinarily intelligent, has a lot of technology that he uses to manipulate the world around him, as well as fight in his battles. Mm-hmm. And, you were talking about this movie being campy, and it's like you think Superman's going to be the campiest character until you meet Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl, and somehow they're campier. And Mr. Terrific maybe being the most among them in his white leather jacket and his insane black face mask, which the whole time I was watching him perform in that, I was like, how can you talk with all that plastic glued to your face? And how can you perform, and not just perform, but perform so well that honestly, you're just making this movie for me.
Yeah, it's super funny, especially because he has the like black rubber face mask, face paint, whatever you want to call it, all the time. Like even when he's like at home chilling on the couch. Wearing it. Like it's great.
So this is my introduction to Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane as well. I don't know that I've seen her in anything prior to this film.
Yeah, I don't know why she looked familiar to me, but I had not seen anything in it. I looked it up. She's Miss Maisel in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and so she's won the Primetime Emmy Award for that role, and so I probably saw her on stage accepting an award. But
I've heard great things about that show.
She's very good in this. I really like her in this. It's a complicated version of Lois Lane in a way that I am not super familiar with. I really liked it.
I would love to talk more about Lois Lane, but we promised not to do spoilers. And so I'm going to avoid the Lois Lane topic altogether. But I have, in the review that I will be posting on our blog and that I've posted on Letterboxd, I discuss a little bit about her role in this movie and how I think it is just really important, really wonderful. So a couple fun facts about the movie. Apparently, so we all know the dog Crypto is in there, which
yes, he is.
Couldn't be campier. Interest in adopting dogs somehow has gone up since seeing this movie. James Gunn is very proud of this fact. He said it's the most good he could do in this world, which is funny because that's a bad dog.
A naughty animal. Yeah. Which I liked that the super dog sucks. He's just a naughty dog.
I know. I love it too. It's part of what grounds a movie that is so silly and so elevated, and that the dog is bad. Everybody's had a bad dog that they love anyway, and that they sort of feel like they have to apologize for everywhere they go. I have one like that now. In fact, he's a great dog until he meets somebody new, and then he's a terrible dog.
Matsu's just enthusiastic.
He is an enthusiastic greeter. He chills out. So they did a lot of fun, interesting marketing things with this film, using the Eiffel Tower, putting Superman on top of a building in London. But I really actually want to talk very specifically about the trailer of this movie, because I have a superhero allergy. When I see a trailer for a superhero movie, I almost automatically am like, oh no. But I will say that when I saw the trailer for this, I knew I was going to see it. One of my biggest problems with the MCU, but with most superhero movies, and this includes other Superman movies, is that the threat that you're facing is always a world-ending threat. So whether it's Michael Shannon as Zod running the world engine and completely destroying the entire world with this machine that they've made on Krypton, or Thanos snapping away half of the people in the entire universe, These are threats that I do not give a fuck about. I don't care. I'm not invested. I already know what's going to happen, which is they're going to lose because you can't do that. So it doesn't matter. There are no stakes. I don't care. The personal stakes in it aren't high enough. I watched this trailer and I saw Superman wrestling with a dog. I saw him arguing with Lois Lane. I saw him going through human problems that actually matter to me as a person and that I want to watch and see in my characters in a movie and know that the stakes that they're experiencing are similar to the stakes that I experience that I can somehow relate to. And then that trailer was immediately followed up by the Fantastic Four, which was a shadow of Galactus coming with Silver Surfer saying, if your heroes don't save you, we're going to destroy the world. And I was like, sold. Superman, yes. Fantastic Four, no.
And without spoiling anything, even the big conflict is something that is grounded in reality. We just talked about all the examples of similar conflicts that have existed in the world. It does something kind of interesting and novel with it. But no, humanity is not really what's in danger here.
No.
Not existentially. The goodness of humanity. Yeah.
There are some deeply human conflicts.
And I like that. I like that about it, that it is weirdly simultaneously, big and campy and cheesy, but one of the more grounded superhero movies we've gotten in a really long time.
I agree. And it did not disappoint. And so I think we both think you should go see this movie.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you probably are, because like we said earlier, the movie is doing very well. And I expect it to continue doing well because the word of mouth that I have heard has been overwhelmingly positive.
So as of July 20th, we're seeing about 115 million to 120 million on opening weekend. Global debuts exceeding 210. Like I said, it's made its production budget back already. It's now starting to chip away at its huge marketing budget. But I expect that even if this movie doesn't crack the top 100 and become an official sold out movie, I think it's going to have a really great summer. I think it bodes really well for the summer. And for those of you who really want to have a mixed up experience like I did, follow up Superman with Eddington. I have read a lot saying that this is the first truly modern Western. And I personally would like to refute that now. While yes, there are elements of a Western in this film, if you like High Noon, that does not mean this movie is for you. And I cannot emphasize enough. So when I went and saw Superman, it was a Tuesday afternoon, and that theater was 75% full. Made my heart happy to see so many people in the theater on a Tuesday afternoon. I went and saw Eddington on opening night, and there were maybe 20 people in the theater, and 5 of them got up and left.
That's Ari Aster for you.
This is an Ari Aster movie. It is less like High Noon to me, and it is more like a deeply anxiety-inducing Dr. Strangelove. This is a satire on American political life that takes every single thing and just heightens it to a place that just fills you with dread, with anxiety, and occasionally cuts that tension with a really funny joke. And that is what you're in for nearly 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
It is a runtime. While I think it could have been shorter, as every movie could have been, it does a phenomenal job of taking a single moment in the movie that sort of sets up the tension, and then it spends the rest of the movie somehow finding a way to heighten. And when you think it couldn't heighten anymore, you know what it does? It heightens some more. And it really is shocking in that way. It reminded me a bit of The Substance.
Okay.
A little bit in that way, in which you think that it can't take what it's done further, and it finds a new, terrifying, imaginative way to take it further. And it invaded my dreams that night. It left me with a sense of dread and deeply wanting to go back and watch Superman again just to find a little bit of optimism in the world. So if you want a sold out weekend, that's the pairing I recommend.
Fantastic. So sounds like now is the time to do our MVPs.
Let's do our MVPs. Michael, who's your MVP?
My MVP is Superman himself, David Corenswet. I think he is
Great MVP.
very well cast. And I don't say this just because like, oh, he's the star of the movie. He's the title character. It's all about Superman. It is because the version of Superman that we're getting has to feel human, has to give the full range of human emotions, and has to be performed earnestly. And that is what David Corenswet brings to this. And it's what we see in all of his promotional appearances for the movie. He comes off as this just like earnest, wholesome guy who's just kind of like really happy to be there, values the experience, values the opportunity to tell this story. And it comes through in his performance. He is just really great at being relatable in a way that I didn't think Superman could be.
I think that's a great MVP. I thought he was a fantastic Superman. I went with Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. I think this is a film not unlike many of the sold out films that we've done, in which it really is firing on all cylinders, and choosing one single MVP is extraordinarily difficult. But he was such a surprise to me. I really went into it expecting Nicholas Hoult to be my MVP because I had read nothing but good things about his performance. Then I thought, well, Nathan Fillion is here as Green Lantern being an absolute douche. I am going to enjoy this immensely. And somehow, about halfway through the movie, I realized that I was looking forward to every scene that Mr. Terrific was in. That every single time he was showing up, he was giving this performance that was a little bit dry, a little bit understated. There were all these big characters and big events happening around him, and he's just a little bit nerdy. He's providing a contrast where he still fit into this world of Superman that they have invented, that they've created, but he's just not quite of it. He clearly is a guy. He doesn't really have superpowers other than he's super smart, and he's made some super cool robots.
Yeah.
But his real power is his power to just make me laugh, because every single line, every single physical movement, his physical comedy was great. I am going to have to find some more stuff that he was in, because I was really blown away by his performance, especially when you're surrounded by so many good performances. The fact that he was able to stand out in the way that he did, and with a character with which I was totally unfamiliar. So yeah, that's my MVP for the movie.
It's a great pick.
They're all MVPs. It was a fun movie. Super, super fun. Great summer blockbuster. Yeah, that's all I got on Superman. Go see it.
That is it. We will see you next time with a real sold out episode. My face will be reassembled and we can do this the way that we like to do it. But until then, stay connected with us at upleftmedia.com, on social media at soldout_pod. I am upleft_Michael at all the social media. And Ian, you are?
I am Ian_upleft on all of the social media. And then, of course, have our blog at upleftmedia.com, post reviews on Letterboxd. And I don't know, might start doing some dances on TikTok.
I think you should definitely do dances on TikTok.
I think I'm going to do dances on TikTok. I'm a good dancer. I once won $1 for dancing.
Next time you see us, we'll be back in the time machine. We are going to 2016 to attempt to see Captain America Civil War, which has some really cool parallels with the movie we just talked about. And we've picked out some other fun ones to see while that is sold out.
And if you want an anxiety attack, go see Eddington on the big screen. We'll see you next time on Sold Out.